Pleased to be joined by head coach of the Texans, Coach Steve Green, joins us. And Coach, I tell you what, you kind of tinkered a little bit with New Mexico College there for a little while. You had them most of the game, but somewhere around that middle of that second half, you guys hit a whole nother gear and just kind of ran them out the backside. And been nice to see earlier on and maybe take a little sweat off the brow down the stretch.
Well, I think it was one of the first games this season that we really didn't. I don't say we played selfish, but we sure didn't look like we were playing together very well. And I went in at halftime and wrote, put one number on the board and followed by the word assist. We had 2 assists at halftime, and that's pretty uncharacteristic for this team. We do have some guys that can score, but we also have some pretty good passers. And I think one of the keys has been this season is to help other guys get baskets, and we just didn't. We didn't have any kind of offensive flow. I didn't feel like. We were hit, I think, 42-35 at half, and it seemed like we were down 42-35. But nonetheless, we came back onto the floor the second half and kind of continued, I think, for a little bit about the same way. We got caught up in a walk-up game on both ends of the floor, but then I think it was 6.5 to go. It was 68-60, and the final was 85-60. It's some crazy thing, and you look back on it, I'm not sure we did anything spectacular defensively. Maybe they tried to lull us to sleep, and I think in turn maybe it did themselves. So we got a couple of easy baskets, a couple of steals, and what have you, and that was the ball game.
Yeah, you really did a good job. You talked about getting caught in that walk-up game for a while, but I think when you hit that swing, you really did a good job of pushing the basketball up the floor. Again, it just seemed like it was a different gear the back 7 minutes.
Right. Well, you get easy baskets, and you get a steal or two, and it results in a layup and what have you. And when you've been rocking along, and this is the way you play, you do this, they do that, and then you add that ingredient to it. That usually is what separates the win from the loss. So we were pretty fortunate, at that point. We've tried to since then we've edited a tape up and showed Devontae, our point guard, and Terrence, that we play at your pace, and if you're going to walk the ball up the floor, then you can expect something like that again. So we put an additional emphasis on trying to push and get up on the floor more.
Interesting thought I thought on that game was it seemed like whether it was by design or by force, you substituted, especially Terrence Durham a little earlier. You went to substitutions in the post a little earlier. Is this the sign of the depth developing better, or is this by force rather than by choice?
Well, I think that we've got a lot of good players that have been working hard and what have you, and we want to obviously give them some time to play. But we got to half with Yannick and with only one foul too. He got one early in the game, and sometimes things like that or they get inside kids' heads. I mean, a foul is a mistake, and there's no two ways about it. I mean, and it's because you didn't get there on time and things like that, and so you reach or you try to body somebody or something like that. So sometimes if you take a guy out at that point and let him think about what just happened and what have you, it might prevent him from going back out or staying in the game and doing the same thing. And now you have to take a guy out and you can't play him. So that was kind of our thinking with Yannick. Put Terrence in to try to speed the game up. Because Terrence likes to get the ball and pass up the floor a lot. And so we tried to change the tempo a little bit with that. And Terrence has been a good player. I mean, he's been an unbelievable practice player for us. And on any other team, he would be playing 30-plus minutes, So, but he can really give us a lot of things that help us, and we're trying more and more to find those situations and games where we can use that.
We talked a lot about depth this year, and it's not the 6 and 7 guys that put you into the regional tournament and on further. It is the 8, 9, and 10 guys, and it seems like Terrence Durham, and we can talk about Alex underneath and talk about Walker underneath. These guys have come along, I think, pretty well. Greg Gainey as well.
Darrell, Deshaun. I mean, what people may forget is those guys were getting all the major minutes last year. Gainey, Darrell, Deshaun, along with Stanton and others were playing all our minutes last year. And what we've done is we've added about 4 guys, to that mix. Malcolm last year, and Those are good players. They just needed a little bit of help, and we've been fortunate that we've been able to provide that this year. So, you know, Malcolm hit a huge shot. I think he's 68-60, and Malcolm comes off the bench over here in the corner, and he's wide open, and he nets a three, and then that's 71-60, and that kind of started things for us. You know, but he comes off, he's fresh, he's ready to go, and he had a couple early in the game, and so he's kind of feeling it and what have you. So, you know, we've had a lot of people come in and do good jobs for us this season. Gainey in particular, Gainey has really started being very productive on the floor.
You looked at this last basketball game, one of the things kind of stuck out in my mind was free throws. This is one of the nights you shot free throws pretty well. We shot a wagon load of them in here the other night.
A wagon load?
Yeah, well, that seemed to me like there was several involved, but you shot them pretty well. Well, you know, it's a lot. That's
one of those little red wagons?
No, it was one of those big wagons that you have to pull with the tractor.
Hayride.
There you go, the hayride full. But you shot them pretty well, and maybe that's something you haven't done quite as well as you'd like to throughout the
Well, you send Marshall to the free throw line to shoot free throws, and you're going to shoot a great percentage, you know, in the conversation. So, and I think he shot 10. You know, and he's going to hit anywhere from 80 to 90% of his tosses up there. So, I don't know how many we ended up shooting. It seems to me like there was a whole lot of fouls called. You don't ever make enough free throws. I mean, you know, I tell the guys all the time they're called free. You know, why? I mean, why do we miss any of them? But nonetheless, I think that you know, if you're aggressive and you're driving the ball to the basket, son, and I mean, think how many times this year Marshall's gone to the free throw line to shoot 3 free throws. You know, and that's because he's such a threat outside, and people have done such a I mean, they have really emphasized the fact that you cannot let this guy get an open look, and so you know, the players get frustrated, and so they're running at his hands a lot. And he's pretty clever. He draws fouls, and you know, so that's a lot of tosses that you're putting up there.
A couple of things that you got exposed against New Mexico College, Junior College on the road, that pick and roll. Looked to me like you sealed that up much better. You were worried a little bit on the dribble drive that we saw against Odessa. And it seems like a lot of those things have started to clean themselves up and looked a lot better in here the other night.
Well, I think we did repair one thing, and that was the pick and roll. But I don't think we did as good a job on the other. But you go back and you look, well, they only scored 60 points. You know, I mean, we should win every game that we play that a team scores 60. And so I guess, you know, in the end, I think their shooting percentage was for the night was around, you know, in the mid-30s. And so, you know, it's hard to complain about that. But the pick and roll, you know, when you have a 6'11" guy in there that kind of controls what happens in the paint, you know, it's hard to execute that. So our rotation was a lot better. We did have some time to prepare for it, and you know, you better learn how to do it, because that's what everybody does today is some form of on ball screen action. So, and that requires some rotations and things of that sort. I think that you know, what I've tried to tell these guys is anytime a man goes and sets a ball screen, they're getting ready to try to score at this point. So the rest of you guys, I don't know what you're doing on the other side of the floor, but you better direct your attention to where the ball is, because that's where it's getting ready to happen.
You get ready to go to Howard now tomorrow night and take on the Hawks. Every game is big, but this one looks pretty big on the road against the team, frankly, that's right in the middle of the tussle, trying to secure themselves a good playoff spot. Let's talk a little bit about this ball game. What's some of the concerns with the Hawks?
Well, I mean, one, I think at this point they are, without question, the second best team in the conference, and they've got very, very good players. They play a very methodical style, which we don't necessarily like. We struggled with it here. We were fortunate to, you know, I think to get ahead and to just kind of hold on for dear life, you know, most of the evening. I think they did maybe late in the game take a 1-point lead or something, but we turned that around pretty fast. They got good shooters. They got good players. They'll guard you hard. It's no fun going to Big Spring. You know, everything that goes along with a trap is what we're looking at. I think tomorrow night, but it should be good. It's probably the junior college game of the year as far, or of the evening in junior college basketball. So we're highly ranked, and they should be. And so we'll see what happens. I think if we win the game, we're the conference champions. I think that no matter what they do from here on, I think they're going to finish second as far as the seedings go. I don't think there's anything short of us, maybe losing out, but we've looked at, we've put pencil to it and tried to figure, the seedings and what have you. But the probability of anything other than us finishing with the top seed and then finishing with the second seed is, I think, is highly unlikely.
Got to be nice to talk about that now, as opposed to, well, which games do we got to win to get in?
Yeah.
It's got to be nice to be talking about, well, we can win tonight with 2 games left and possibly secure that title.
Right. The fiasco that happened the other night that caused Midland to have to forfeit 2 games, it solidified the 4 teams that are going to be in the tournament. I think 3 and 4 could possibly still be playing for a seeding, but it's highly unlikely. I think that anything is going to change. I think we'll end up the number 1 seed. I think that Howard will be 2. I think New Mexico will end up being 3, and it looks like Odessa will be 4 at this point. I don't think anything can happen differently, but if it does, I was wrong. I guess.
There you go. Coach, final thoughts before we let you get out of here today.
We're looking forward to trying to keep this streak going. It is the toughest game that we have left because it's the next game, obviously, and should we be fortunate enough to win that game, then the next toughest game will be the one the following Monday. So we want to go into the tournament, playing good. You don't ever want something bad to happen at this point where now you take a step backwards, because this is the time of the season when you're playing for banners and stuff. So hopefully we're focused and ready to go, and we have a lot of people to come down there and support this team.
All right. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate your time as always. Best of luck yourself and Texans, and we'll see you down the road.
All right.